So let me just tell you a little bit about today's session. Basically, the CHT course that we have, the Counselor of Hindu Tradition, it's a 24-week class. We are training people to either become, enhance their volunteering skills or go into chaplaincy if they want to pursue the path of chaplaincy after the CHT certification. In this particular year, what happened is we have a bunch of highly qualified people who have been accepted into the chaplaincy program at the GTU. So they will be completing the CHT course at HCI as a prerequisite, and then they'll be moving on to the chaplaincy program. So what we thought was if we do one of the sessions on interview with the Karma Yogis, that will be a very good way for them to learn. They're in the process of answering the call, and it'll be a good way for everybody to learn directly from people like you on what it means to live a life of selfless service. So that is, that is the goal of today's interview with you. And I had sent you a bunch of questions, so I'm going to ask a few questions, and feel free to answer them. And the whole idea is, people are looking forward to learning from you, including myself.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so it will be, we are not having an audience today elsewhere, but we are just recording it all for future
That is correct.
use. Right?
That is correct. So the recording is going to be used for the class. They will watch because, ever since the pandemic hit, we are not doing live classes anymore. Everything is recorded. Even our sessions are recorded. So people watch at their own convenience, and then they do the homework assignments, and, that's how it works. So even we don't, teach them in person anymore. So everything is recorded.
And you're planning the whole thing for about an hour?
About 20 minutes, I would say.
Okay.
The session is about an hour, but we have 3 people, and you are one of the people I'm interviewing today.
So
about 20,
the answers will have to be
minutes.
brief. The answers will have to be brief. Okay, got it.
Okay. Well, I will leave it to you to say as much as you want, because like I said, we are hoping that people can learn from you.
Yes, and maybe I'm sure you will have somebody to do some editing and take out what is relevant.
Yeah, we'll do that also. So what I would like to do is, begin with an introduction of you to the audience, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions. So whenever you are ready, I can begin with the introduction.
Okay, ready.
Ready, okay. Namaste. I am Mangala Kumar, resident faculty at HCI. Welcome to today's session, Lifetimes in Karma Yoga. Today, we have an opportunity to meet with real-life Karma Yogis and learn from them what it means to live a life dedicated to selfless service. It's my special privilege and honor to introduce you all to Padma Shri Dr. M.R. Rajagopal. Dr. Rajagopal, namaste. Welcome. Dr. Rajagopal is widely known as the father of palliative care in India. He is an internationally known palliative care physician, a legendary humanitarian healer, and thought leader. He is also the founder and chairman of Pallium India. His pioneering work in promoting palliative care and relief from suffering across India have earned him numerous awards and honors worldwide, including a nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize. And as I mentioned, he is a Padma Shri awardee. Welcome, Dr. Rajagopal. We look forward to learning some interesting things about a life of Karma Yogis today. So first, let me ask you, you are a palliative care physician and you've been practicing as a physician for many decades now. But at a very young age, at about the age of 17 or 18, you probably had already chosen that you wanted to be a doctor. And you didn't stop at just being a doctor. You took upon the cause of palliative care and particularly the alleviating the pain for people under certain circumstances. So let's find out what exactly was your motivation. So if you can tell us about that.
At the age of 17 or 18, I became a medical student. That was pure chance. It is not as if I went there with the determination to learn medicine or anything. I was just drifting along. And but once I got into medicine, I came across this huge sea of suffering around us. I mean, even in my first year, a neighbor, the agony and the screams are still very clear in my mind. And the medical system was not doing anything. But then again, my drifting took me to anesthesiology. By the way, anesthesiology and palliative medicine are perhaps the only two streams of medicine whose intention is only to relieve suffering. So there, I tried to do something more than the work in the operation theater, but I was not given the permission and I did not have enough initiative to fight. But at the age of 39, I became a head of department, then had some freedom to do what I wanted to do. And I started treating people's pain. I was addressing only pain, but then those people taught me that human beings are not made only of nerves. They have emotions, they have relationships, and all of them matter. So I think in palliative care, I've had great teachers, but certainly a lot of teaching came from the people that I treated. I and my colleagues and I treated.
So, something that I have always wondered about you is palliative care is something that even in America, not everybody knows what it is. Obviously, over time, the hospital systems are promoting it widely. There are lots of facilities that are dedicated to palliative care, and also the laws have been formulated to support palliative care, and also a lot of end of life choices that people can make. So when I think about it, in India, you are obviously known as the father of palliative care. So you obviously probably had a lot of challenges, even introducing palliative care as a area of a practice. Can you tell us about the challenges that you had there?
Thank you. Yes, I will. But before that, it was a New York Times article in 2018 which called me the father of palliative care. But whenever I hear it, I feel a bit guilty because I did not know it. Well before that, in 1986, Dr. Lucido D'Souza, an onco-surgeon in Mumbai, had already built the first hospice. So palliative care had come to India much before that. But the challenges, naturally, isn't it natural that any change is resisted? No, but of course, if I had started a big movement, the challenges would have been more. But what I was doing is in my corner of the hospital, treating a few patients. It was not very visible. When it grew, you know that classical saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you. Oh, that is inevitable change, a resistance to change. And I want every person who is in the room to remember that if you want to change the way things are, you will come across resistance. And the magic word then is persistence. If you truly believe that what you want to do is important, don't expect people to come and serve you and encourage you and cheer you on if it is different from the norm. You may be called an eccentric. But if you believe in it, keep pursuing it. And then we will find that as you work at it, a few people will be interested enough to come and watch. And then two of them will come and say, I find this interesting. Can I join you? And the movement, it will become a movement then. I'm sure. Yes. So resistance was there. Yes, Mangala, you're absolutely right. But you must also gratefully remember the enormous support that came in from various quarters and certainly from professionals, certainly from the media, some young journalists hearing about it, seeing it, and writing about it. And when one is weak as an individual, but when people join you, it becomes a movement. Then the persistence that I talked about is easier. Maybe we should not create waves before we have that group together.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that sounds very interesting. But to me, that also says you had such an uphill battle, uh, because not only did you have to educate everybody around you on what it is, they have to believe in what you're doing. Like I said, I'm pretty sure you would have faced a lot of challenges, legal, financial, logistical, and also just a matter of educating people. Because something like going into hospice, or even mentioning the word palliative care, or even talking about end of life, they're all taboos even today. So how did you deal with that, and how were you able to talk to people that it is something that is extremely important for everybody to be thinking about?
Well, talking came second, doing came first. See, we needed to make it visible. And here, okay, many things are difficult, particularly in this case. What we do, at least to the majority of clinicians, look like criticism at their own practice. I thoughtlessly say something like, why is pain not treated? Pain is suffering. And a clinician would be thinking, is he saying that what I do is wrong? That creates anger. It also generates fear. Oh my God, he's saying such strange things. I'll never be able to learn it and do it. I've always done it this way. The anger and fear are mutually supportive.
Mhm.
The angrier you are, the more afraid you are. You're not rational anymore. And that is very real, which is why I say, unless you are that exceptional Hercules, you should have an army. a gentle army of people who will not go out and do fist fighting, but who will quietly work away at it and make change happen and demonstrate it. As our movement becomes successful, the resistance will grow, unfortunately. And then it can become serious at times. Like there will be people with vested interests who actually suffer losses because of what you do. But when we are together, we are stronger. And if we have a faith in the dream, who was it that said to make a great dream come true, the first requirement is a great capacity to dream, and the second, persistence of a faith in it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. But here's the thing: you have dealt with people. You have firsthand experience with people who are literally on the threshold of life and death and going through a lot of pain. I mean, that's not a situation somebody like me can even see or even begin to understand. So when it comes to helping somebody, I probably would be very scared. Maybe even paralyzed myself to kind of say, what can I do to this person? How can I help? So you obviously, your physician's training helps, but beyond that, what is in it for you? What do you think of when you see a person in so much pain and suffering so much?
My physician's training would help me to run away from that suffering. That's what the healthcare system does, refusing to look at suffering and pretending to concentrate so much on tumor cells and microorganisms and keep killing them, ignoring the suffering. That's the standard practice. So what helps is to be a human being. I would say the generic term for a doctor or a nurse would be a human being, which is sometimes we all forget. And I particularly mentioned that in answer to this question because that response is to come not only from me, but also from you, everyone. Say, if you have a family member, God forbid you have such a thing does not happen, or a friend gets into a serious health issue and is suffering breathless or rolling in pain, one kind of action that you would take would be to be very efficient, pick up the phone, call the ambulance, call somebody else, do all those things. Humanity demands that in addition, you also take courage to pull up a chair and sit beside the person, lay a hand on the hand, and with that touch, if culturally appropriate, with that touch, convey, I see you are suffering. I care for you. For a person left absolutely lonely in the middle of a crowd, in a prison of pain or suffering, that one touch tells the person, oh my God, at least somebody cares, somebody is trying to understand. Because others may be saying, hey, don't cry, don't cry. That's silly. If I'm suffering, the least I should be able to do is to cry. And saying don't cry is, what does it mean? Please don't cry. By crying, you are upsetting me. Be strong so that I'll be okay. Crying is an expression of grief. It's absolutely necessary. Whether it's your baby crying, maybe for no reason at all, just being naughty. But that grief is necessary. So I would ask not only fellow professionals, but everybody to recognize this need. And I would say start it from your home. To all the young people, let me ask you, do you know your dad and mom? Well, really? Do you know where they grew up? Do you know some interesting events in their primary school life that they cherish? Memories of high school, the challenges they faced, the times they suffered a lot. Why don't you just sit down with your dad when he has a free time, or a grandfather or a grandmother, instead of saying, "Hi, grandma, how are you? Bye bye." Instead of that, you find those minutes to sit there and, "Grandma, tell me about your life." The grandma was very good and was looking after you when you were a baby, on whom you depended totally, has become a stranger from the time you were 10 or 12. Your world changed. Then it became just, "Hi, grandma, how are you?" Uh, but rebuild that relationship. She, she holds so much of love for you. She is lonely. She could be. She may not have people to talk to, especially if she is ill and confined to a room. She needs human companionship. And in that conversation, you will hear precious things, precious lessons for you to lessons that will prepare you for life, great life experiences. Everyone around you is a book that we ignore. Sorry, you got carried away. I don't even now remember what question you had asked me, Mangala.
So basically, my question was, when you see someone, we all have good intentions of helping someone, but we become paralyzed because we don't know what to do. We don't know the right thing to say. We feel very helpless, right? So how do you, compartmentalize that feeling and still, you know, uh, position yourself to help them? Like I said, your training, obviously, as a physician, it definitely helps. But for someone who wants to, connect with people, you made a couple of very good points. The human touch is extremely important, and building that human connection is extremely important. So, this is, I think, extremely important for people who have good intentions but don't know the wherewithal, don't know the how to go about it.
So maybe as part of the chaplaincy training, this is something you will learn about building that connection. Most people do not disclose what is most important to them. That's deeply hidden. It will come out when you have built a relationship. So I already said, sit down. Don't talk to your grandfather or grandmother looking down upon him or her. Sit down at the same eye level. Lay a hand on the hand. Convey with your eyes that you care for him or her. That's the beginning. And encourage conversation. Very often we say, "Oh, there he goes again. Grandpa is going to tell the old stories all over again." But maybe there are many stories that you haven't heard. And if at the end you say, "Grandpa, what an amazing life you have learned. I have so much to learn from you." You will be then giving that person spiritual support, because you are giving meaning to that person's life. When that person lies there and is wondering, "Oh, what a useless life this is. I wish I could go. Why isn't even death accepting me?" And there you go and say, your life has been worth living very much. Thank you for being my grandfather. And I want to care for you. That is really the most important spiritual support that you can give a person, acknowledging the meaning of life. And equally important, giving purpose and hope. A purpose to life. Say something like, if there is anything that you can learn from that person, ask for that. Oh, Papa, you said this and this. I'm sure there must be many more experience in your life. Shall we continue tomorrow when you are less tired? Will you tell me more? You are asking, but that gives a purpose for that person's life. Otherwise, what am I doing? Just lying here doing nothing. I wish I were dead. However tiny, build a hope, build a purpose, and give some hope.
Yes.
And on one of those days, suppose you ask, Papa, this Sunday, I know you are very tired. Why don't we go out on an outing? We'll put you on the wheelchair. Let's go to the seaside. It takes effort. It takes time. But you remember that it is not only his life that you are adding value to. Someday you will sit back and remember and think, that was one of the most important things that I did in my life. Because most other things, like the grade at the exam, the new job, that the coveted job that you got, which you leave after 2 years anyway, all those things lose their value when you have got it. But some of these memories, a kiss on your hand from your grandfather, and he just holding you on, those memories will enrich your life forever.
That's wonderful. I think that's a huge takeaway for people who are hesitant to even kind of be with somebody who is going through such a painful situation, whether it's physical pain or emotional pain.
Mangala, sorry to interrupt, but if you like that, why don't I make one more suggestion to everyone who is listening? Okay, so what are you going to do now? Are you going to postpone it to someday? Do it today. Make a phone call to somebody to whom you have a friend, a relative, an uncle, an aunt.
Yeah.
The uncle who used to carry in his shoulder when you were a child. Just give a call. And he would be wondering, why is this man calling from USA? I just remembered that incident and I wanted to talk to you. See how much value you are adding to that person's life and this person's life. So this is not for tomorrow, chaplaincy work. This is for today.
For today, yeah.
Hand to your parents.
Yeah.
Talk to them. Find out about them. Then you will know that you haven't known them really.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic advice. It's like charity begins at home, right? You start with the people that you love, that are part of your family, and you practice, and then you get good at it. Talking about that, it's one thing to say, help somebody, but personally, what do you get out of that? Whether it's emotionally or spiritually or in any other way, what is in it for you to do this selfless service?
Earlier, when we talked about spiritual support, I said that for the person, it adds meaning to life, value to life. and that I explained as a form of spiritual support. Uh, it is not only for that person. I am actually looking for a passage from this book. Uh, Someday, okay, you earlier asked, this work is hard. Uh, Many tears, always people with illness, sadness, death.
Mhm.
But I know that it is absolutely fruitful. Uh, I am here. I mean, I'm just talking about my book called Walk with the Weary. And I was looking for a particular statement where I had actually answered this specific question. I am talking about a child who was often in pain and would be rolling around in pain. And the moment the pain subsides, she would be sitting up and restarting the game with me. The game was playing with my stethoscope, she becoming the doctor and I becoming the patient. And then at the height of the game, she would give me a kiss on the cheek. This would happen many times during a consultation. And today, after more than a quarter of a century, that's one of the treasures that I keep. So what I have written there, I can't find that passage now. Don't want to waste time. That there is this box of treasures that not only me, all of us carry. Certainly the palliative care professionals carry, the volunteers carry. The box of treasures where we get this kiss, a hand holding tight. And the other day, I was thinking that a nurse got this huge treasure today. We had this man who had come in cursing God. What God? There is no God. No God would do this to me. I never harmed anyone. I always did good to others. And he does this to me. There is no God. Our team did not preach him about God. Good heavens, don't. If at that point of time you say, oh, don't say that, God is all powerful, he's your enemy also. But make God visible in what you do. That patience, we did not preach, but that patience, after 2 days, held on to my nurse's hand, a nurse, and said, daughter, I thought there was no God, but there is. He sent you to me as an angel. And his eyes were streaming and her arm was moist. But I'm sure that's a treasure that she will carry for the rest of her life. It is not small. Friends, all of us, you know this already. You have an achievement, a grade, a job, which all fades in value with a little bit of time. But these treasures that I have in a chest will be there, always never losing its glitter. So what it gives me, short answer, is meaning to my life.
Oh, that's wonderful. You really hit the nail on the head. I think, that is something that we can all take away. So one other question I wanted to ask you was, you obviously are well known all around the world and you have received numerous prestigious awards, including the Padma Shri and a nomination for a Nobel Peace Prize. Uh, Obviously, you did not go after your work, or you are not doing your karma yoga, seeking those awards. What if none of those awards came your way? Would it have discouraged you? Would it have done something that says, nobody is listening to me, nobody understands what I'm doing, nobody recognizes what I'm doing? What's your take on that?
My box of treasures would still be full. My box of treasures is there for me. But about the awards, of course, I enjoy being there, receiving it. Yeah, I'm a big shot. Sort of ego comes in, which is not so good for an individual to have. Yes, I enjoy that, but I also feel a bit embarrassed. I feel more than a bit embarrassed because do you know that there are thousands of volunteers doing this work in Kerala? And I sit here and preach and talk when I have my hard-working colleagues, the doctor and nurses who were doing night duty yesterday, they are still at it. They'll be able to go home only after another hour, sleepless and working at this kind of thing. Really, a lot of people came in to achieve something. Rajagopal goes up there and Mangala calls me Karma Yogi and I feel good. It's a fragile ego that will easily get punctured when somebody pricks it with a pin and reminds me of my numerous weaknesses, numerous failings. But my box of treasures will be intact.
Dr. Rajagopal, you are such a modest person. I look at you, I just heard you say there were so many people that, are working behind the scenes that don't get the recognition that you have got. But I think you are such a role model. Personally, for me, when I look at the awards and recognitions you have received, that's a way of us knowing that you are the type of person that we want to follow, not because of the awards and recognitions, but you are there as the voice of people, the voice of a cause, the voice of something that is, bigger than all of us. And, somebody like you with your modesty and your chest of treasures is someone that, we all like to emulate. And so this is such a wonderful session, knowing some of the things that you do and what makes you do. So one last question. Um, sometimes we do things and we do things for a while. It makes us feel good. And then we face some challenges and we want to feel like we want to give that up, or we want to, pick something that is easier to do. But a true karma yogi doesn't do that, right? For a true karma yogi, this is their life. This is, what they live for. So from your perspective, obviously this is something that you've been doing for a very, very long time. And you have, you are a trailblazer, you are a pioneer, you have laid the path and showed the path to a lot of people that are following you. So with that perspective, what advice would you give for somebody who wants to continue to have that passion and not give up?
To everyone, I would quote one line from a poem from Mary Oliver. It's a question. Mary Oliver asks, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? I'll repeat. What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
Mhm.
Just go back home tonight and think about it. The immediate goals may be important to build your life, to create a career, and to be successful. But or in the long term, what do you want to do? If what you do for your immediate success is taking you away permanently from what you really want to do, then you have a problem. Have some focus. If you, another saying is, if you don't like the place you are in, move. You are not a tree. So think of the important things, and then there will be, as Mangala said, many obstacles. Guaranteed. They will be there, custom made. One management expert once told me, learn something from the army people. If they want to get on the other side of the hill, and the hill is insurmountable, you try to walk around the hill and find a passage. And then you find an army waiting for you there with shells. You don't just barge in and get killed. You quietly withdraw, walk the other way, find a pass to go to through some other place. Sometimes, say for example, in our work, myself as well as my colleagues have had numerous challenges. Some a head of department, a head of institution, maybe even higher up, they say, nothing doing. We will not allow you to do this. We don't waste time fighting that person. That person doesn't matter, doesn't deserve your recognition, your time. It is, you will only get hurt by breaking your head against that concrete wall. Don't give up either, but walk around the hill, find a passage. There you will find something.
Yeah, that's very, very nice. So I really want to thank you on behalf of HCI and everybody at HCI for spending this precious time with us. I really feel that we have learned a lot, especially the importance of building the human connection, the human touch, and facing the challenges head on, not in a in a way that you say where we put ourselves in the path of danger, or have the reasons to walk away, but more in a very methodical, thoughtful approach to that. And more than anything else, thank you for sharing that chest of treasures aspect with us. I think we may have it, we may not have it, but we certainly hope to discover whatever it is, and hope to build on some of the things that we are learning from true karma yogis like you. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you spending the time today with us, Dr. Rajagopal. Yeah.
Angela, it was a privilege. Thank you very much.
Right.
Someday I hope to come and see you in person.
Definitely. I would love to meet with you in person when you're visiting us. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Yeah.